Hello everybody and welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. Monday morning of the super tasting. Again, if you're going to be there tonight or tomorrow, please say hello. It's a great event. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful time. Speaking of wonderful, wonderful times, did anybody watch football last night? It was awesome. Awesome Sunday. Hope you enjoyed. Hope your team did well. Mine did great. We're going to do a very interesting episode of WLTV today. I'm going to be tasting 3 93-point wines, and that's the theme today. 93-point wines. Are they worth it? How do they show? Let's see what we're going to do. So, because of the seriousness of these wines, I decided to go full pledge. 3 glasses, 3 decanters, 3 wines. It's going to be really exciting. I'm very pumped up to try all 3 of these wines. I have not had any of them. Other than that, I got a very, very interesting email over the weekend, and I must make a very special announcement. I want to wish a very, very, very happy 45th birthday to Mike Matheny. His wonderful 18-year-old son, Khalib, sent me an email and said, give a big shout out to Pops. I'm doing that. Michael, I've checked out your site. We're going to give a link to you down below. It's a very interesting story. He's a great guy out in the West Coast. I hope you had a great 45th birthday. And other than that, thank you for watching the show, and I hope you liked today's episode. So, let's get right into it. Wine numero uno is the La Malona. The La Malona 99 Brunello, which is a 93-point Wine Spectator scored Brunello, and it is about $60 to $70 a bottle, so very serious. And let's see what we think. These wines have all been decanting for 3 hours and 20 minutes of decanting, so it's a lot of decanting time, solid hours. So let's see if they've helped. Big, classic Italian nose. Comes off very perfumey, as a matter of fact. Yeah, very perfumey. You know, almost like the perfume that, you know, the first date you ever went on. That 16, 15-year-old girl, she just put on too much perfume. That's what I'm getting on the La Malona. Very heavy dose of perfume. Now a little bit of cherries coming through, a little ripe cherry. But very perfumey. And, you know, it's funny, on the initial palate, it hits the back of your palate with an extreme amount of acidity and dryness, coming up very dry, 14.5 in alcohol. I mean, Brunellos are great wines. I think we all recognize that. And as a matter of fact, as the global market is changing, Brunellos are starting to become some of the more value-oriented wines in the world, whereas 5 or 6 years ago I thought they were overpriced. So as Bordeaux's have shot up dramatically, and California Cabs and Australian Shirazes and Spanish Colt wines, you know, $50, $60, $70 for a classic Brunello is starting to look like a pretty big value, and there's even some in the 30s and 40s. This La Malona is a nice bottle of wine. Again, giving off very nice dark cherry, has a silky texture to it. I like the complexity, nice grip on the palate, good backbone. It's a solid bottle of wine, definitely well made. Nice structure, a little cedar on the finish. Again, sour cherry finish. Doesn't have the weight or maybe that oomph power that I expect in a 93-point wine. I'm going to personally score this 91 plus, 91 points. It's a nice bottle of wine. I like its finish. It's really well made, but it's not extraordinary. It's not inspiring. It hasn't changed my life. So let's move on. Nice wine. I mean, nothing to scoff at. Neo, 2003 Daniel Cuvée, which is the upper Cuvée, the reserve for this wine. The Neo is an excellent producer in Barbera, and in Ribera del Duero. And let's see what it's got. Pouring out of decanters is fun. Okay. Why is that shaking? Almost had a cool accident on WLTV. All right, whole different color scheme here. You know, we're going with a much darker color on this Ribera, obviously. And, you know, this has got an interesting New World nose to it. Almost like real, real obvious like high C fruit punch nose, or maybe those ice pops that you would get, and just be red, purple, orange. I was an orange and purple guy. I'm not big on red, but this comes off a little bit like red. Very dark black currants on the nose. Very jammy. I mean, almost like, I've got the peanut butter here and here's the jelly. I mean, it's just got that jammy, jammy nose. $13.5 in alcohol. I should mention, $43, 93 points, Robert Parker. Even with 3.5 hours of decanting, wow, this is still an extreme pucker time. Extremely big, tight, closed monster of a wine. What I adore about this wine, wow, this is really nice, and it's still coming through. It's a very complex New World wine, almost like double bubble. New World meets Old World, and one happy bubble. You know what I mean? Because this really comes off more like a top-notch Bordeaux than a real fruit bomb from, let's say, Australia. So that's what I like a lot about the Spanish wines. They find that angle. This is not going to disappoint New World fans because it's got a lot of fruit, a lot of black currant, a lot of cassis, purple jam, just really, really obvious, big, luscious flavors. However, it's not one-dimensional and just all fruit and glob like we talk about. It's got great structure in the mid-palate, phenomenal length on the palate on the finish, still tasting the wine right now as I'm talking to you. And just enormous structure, acidity, tannins, well-balanced, well-played. I don't feel that this is the exact time to drink this wine, but I would beg to say over the next, I would say another 5 years from now, this wine could really open up because it's still quite big and dry and come off as a very well-structured, dominant machine of a wine and would be easily worth a $100 price tag at that point. I'm going to score this wine 93 points as well. I'm very high on it. However, right this second, if you drank it right now, I bet you would score it more of a 90-point wine. I'm just seeing so much potential and, even like a 92, 93-point wine right now, not a 90. This is extremely good wine. I like this. Yum, yum. All right. God, that's dry. 2002, Catherine Hall Sacre Vineyard Cabernet. And what's funny about the Catherine Hall is that it's a very, 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 very up-and-coming California winery. What am I doing? That's funny, right? Okay. That was fun. Just going to normal tactics. All right. Let's give it a little rinse. Live TV, tell you. Let's go to the editing room and fix that. All right. So we're tasting the 02 Catherine Hall Cab, and this guy is $56, 93 points from the Wine Enthusiast. Sacre is a very hot vineyard in the Napa Valley. A lot of people know it. All you Cali Napa fans that are watching this, you definitely know all about this. Very dark, again, of the Neo cloth. And let's see what's going on here. Tight nose, giving off a little bit, considering the amount of decanting, should be showing a little bit more. But again, cabs are big and young. It's got a little freshness to it, a little floral, getting a little bit of lilac and violets on the nose, which is quite nice. But not much else. Would have liked to see a little more fruit. An herbaceous green pepper kind of flavor hits the palate right away. And there's some serious tannins on the mid palate to the finish. It's also a little bit disjointed, very young. I like a lot of the wines from Catherine Hall. I think they're a great producer. But for 56 bones on this, I love the lushness. I mean, it's really a mouth-filling Cabernet. But this is a major pass in my opinion, which is pretty sad. I was really looking forward to this one. I'm going to go 88 points on this. I just feel that there's at least that many Cabernets that I can taste for half the price that are going to give me that exact quality, and that makes it a major pass for me. The wine's just a solid, average Cabernet. Makes me think of Franciscan or Simi or Rodney Strauss. It's just nothing special and definitely well overpriced in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pass. So, to line up today's big tasting 93-point wines, Neo gets the score I think it deserves. Good job, Parker. 91 points. Very nice wine in Illinois and could really explode in years. I don't see this having the potential, even with more aging, to really ever hit that plateau of 93 points. I mean, maybe it could be a 90-point wine years from now, but I'm going to have to definitely recommend a Neo. And, yep, ironically, the cheapest wine of the bunch. And that's always fun, and that's what always makes wine so, so interesting. And so, that leads me to the questions of the day. Matthew L. says, Gary, I asked this many episodes ago, but I'll try again. What do you do with all the wine that you open for WLTV? Is there a mad run on the juice like the Wine Library Employee Lounge after the show? ML, absolutely. We try to get our staff to taste as much of the wine as possible. I actually don't do as good of a job with that as I should. A lot of times we tape late and everybody's leaving, and it's a lot of work and it's hectic here at the WL. But yes, it's meant for the employees, and that's what we do with it. Obviously, giving them a good opportunity to know what's going on, seeing the bottle. A lot of times they look at me and say, "What the hell are you talking about?" I totally disagree, but that's the beauty of wine. So, sorry I haven't answered that before. Robert M. says, how long can you store vintage port after opening? Days? Question mark. Weeks? Question mark. More? Question mark. How do you store it? Vacuum in? Refrigerator? Question mark. Question mark. Finally, what is the correct serving temperature for port? Rob M. Great question. Last episode port. A lot of people enjoyed it. Got a lot of personal emails. By the way, lurkers, people that haven't posted, people that watch this and never post, please, just come out and say hello. It makes me feel good. Nobody's going to bite. We've talked about that before. But more importantly, it's a great community. I just want everybody to come out because so many people email me, oh God, this Saturday on the floor. So many people came up and said, Gary, love the show. I'm like, who are you? They're like, well, I don't post. Post. It's just great. Just say hi. Please. Port question. After you open a port, I vacuum in and I usually put it in the fridge on its side. I tend to get a good 3 weeks out of my bottles before I see anything really get into a situation where I don't like it anymore. I mean, you can get some serious length out of a port. I'm a vacuum in, put the cork in, and then obviously, the vacuum in unit, and in the fridge, I think it's great. Sometimes, if it's a younger port, I just put the cork in it and put it on the counter and still get 10, 14 days out of it. With the older ports, I do like the vacuum. And then the serving temperature, for me, anywhere between 55 and 80 is 75 is fine. I mean, to me that's a little, it's no big deal. It's really, it's not as big a deal as I think people make it out to be. The perfect serving temperature is the perfect serving temperature for you. Damon, like Johnny Damon, Yanks are out. Way to go, Tigers. That was huge. Damon says, Gary, I'm really curious about how you treat your bottles of port. Man, port, huh? Do you decant? Question mark. Do these wines throw off a lot of sediment after 30 years? Question mark. I'd like to really hear your process of bringing an old wine out of the cellar. Damon, my process is this. You bring an old wine out of the cellar, you carry it so you don't break it, you put it on the table, and what you basically want to do is you open it and you pour it slowly, with an angle. Actually, this would be pretty cool. You slowly go with, on an angle with the port, because what you really do want to do is keep away the sediment, and port kicks a lot. Now, I know the old school folks bring out the candle and looking at light and all that crazy garbage. A little sediment's not going to hurt anybody. I mean, Jesus. So, once you get to that point where there's a little sediment, you stop. There's usually about that much left on the 60s and 45s and 63s ports. 48, not 45. I had a 48 Taylor, had a crap load of sediment. The reality is that you want to go real slow with your pour. Go slow. Treat it nice, and then you would really be in great shape. Finally, Ed R. says, Gary, terrible question of the day. May I suggest, like someone else did, some things have jumped the shark. And if this is the best you can do, I say you've got 25 episodes left. Ed R. I jumped the shark? That hurts my feelings. So wait, I'm a shark? And, more importantly, not only am I a shark, guys, but I'm a hawk, too. Listen to this.
On top of that, he adds, you've got your Monsieur Parker in the U.S., who's imposing his rating system on the world. We don't like him around here. Desage is referring to American wine expert Robert Parker and his system for rating wines. The Parker system uses a scale of 50 to 100, 100 being the best. Many Europeans call it simplistic, but it's become all the rage as wine buying goes global.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wine Library TV. I'm your host, Gary Vaynerchuk.
The internet is also helping to democratize wine. The Wine Library is a New Jersey-based store hawking wine online. It has a multi-million-dollar business thanks in part to this online video program that uses the Parker system.
Kendall Jackson, 2005, Chardonnay, a Wine Library exclusive. Classic KJ, tons of oak and butter, charred wood on the nose. Doesn't finish clean at all. And with that, we're going to score the KJ 83 points, and we're going to move on.
Europe might turn up its collective nose at this wine for the masses approach to marketing.
Can you believe I was mentioned in the same breath as Robert Parker with that nice British accent? How cool is this? This is Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm a hawk. I'm a shark. What animal are you? Oh, wait a minute. You didn't think I was going to leave without a question of the day, did you? And my question of the day is, what is the finest example, the most beautiful, finest example of wine snobbery that you've ever come across? We'll see you next time on WLTV. Go Jets!